Good evening. Over in Florida, a group of parents were so concerned that their kids were forced to wear masks all day long at school. And so what they did was that they took their kids' used masks and they sent them over to a laboratory in order to be tested. And it was found that the masks, these used kids' masks, had the presence of 11 different dangerous pathogens. Meanwhile, over in Colorado, a new bill was just signed into law, which allows local municipalities within the state of Colorado to enact their own gun laws. However, there is a catch. Those gun laws can only be stricter than what the state already imposes. And lastly, as the situation over at the southern border deteriorates, the governor of Texas, he has allocated $250 million to building a new border wall. Florida is sending over reinforcements, and President Trump announced that he will be making a trip to the border himself. When? Well, let's go through that together. This is your daily Facts Matter update, and I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. And I would actually like to begin today's discussion with an interesting announcement. Over the weekend, I was doing some cleaning, some type of spring cleaning at my house, and I came across this stack here. I almost forgot I had this in my closet. These are some old Epoch Times infographics. These are the giant infographics that you might have seen in some of our videos, the giant ones, the ones that are like 3 feet by 4 feet. And I just had them laying around. I actually don't even remember exactly why I was storing them, but here's what I'm thinking. At the end of this week, I will select 30 random people who have subscribed to Epoch TV, and I will send autographed copies of these infographics to you, to your homes. And so if you haven't already subscribed to Epoch TV, at the end of this week on Sunday night, I will select, I think about 30 people, that's how many infographics I have. I will select 30 people at random, and I will send you signed infographics if you subscribe to Epoch TV. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, the link to Epoch TV will be right there at the top of the description box. And if you are watching this on NTD, you can go over to EpochTV.com/FactsMatter and subscribe that way. And by the way, if you've already subscribed to Epoch TV previously, don't worry, you will already be entered to win this infographic as well. So again, I hope you subscribe to Epoch TV. Hope you check out all of the awesome uncensored content that we have on there and also be entered to win this infographic. And now let's move on over to Florida. A group of parents over in Gainesville, Florida, which is a city in the north of the state, they had concerns about their children being forced to wear masks at school all day long in 90-degree heat. And so what these parents did, is that they took 6 face masks and sent them over to the University of Florida in order to be analyzed for possible contaminants. And for your reference, by the way, out of these 6 masks, 3 of them were surgical masks, 2 of them were cotton masks, and 1 was a polyester negator. Also, unused masks were tested as well as a control sample. And after running their analysis, the laboratory over at the University of Florida, they detected the presence of 11 dangerous pathogens on these masks, including bacteria that causes diphtheria, pneumonia, as well as meningitis. Furthermore, 5 of the masks were found to be contaminated with parasites, fungi, as well as bacteria. And also besides that, they also had other less harmful pathogens on there as well, like ones that can cause ulcers, acne, and strep throat. And it's interesting to note that none of the control samples, meaning none of the masks that were never worn, were contaminated with pathogens. Meaning, likely, that a bunch of kids sitting together in 90-degree heat for 5 to 6 hours a day inside of a classroom, somehow they find ways to get pathogens onto their masks. Now, one of the mothers who helped to initiate the study in the first place, she had 3 kids in elementary school, and she became concerned when her sons broke out with rashes, which she believed might have been caused by prolonged mask wearing. Here's what she said during an interview with Fox News. "Our kids have been in masks all day, 7 hours a day in school. The only break that they get is to eat or drink." She further said that while students do not have to wear masks while they're outside, they do still have to wear them when they're 6 to 8 feet from one another or when they're on the school buses. Now, we here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the superintendent of that school district, but we have yet to hear back. Regardless, though, the director of the CDC, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, she recently said that kids should continue to wear masks as well as social distance until they're able to get vaccinated. That is, by the way, despite the fact that the data shows that children are minimally affected by COVID and are not super spreaders of the virus. However, here's what Dr. Walensky had to say. "Until they are fully vaccinated, adolescents should continue to wear masks and take precautions when around others who are not vaccinated to protect themselves, their family, friends, and community." Now, about a month and a half ago, Ron DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida, he's a Republican, he signed an executive order which suspended all COVID emergency restrictions, including mask wearing, within the state of Florida. However, certain school districts, like the one we're discussing, decided to keep their mask policies in place at least for the remainder of the school year. Although, come next school year, the masks will be optional, and so this whole problem might just become moot. Now, we also here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the CDC for comments on this ongoing matter, but we have yet to hear back. Regardless, if you would like to read more about these lab results, about the different pathogens that were found on these kids' masks, that'll be linked in the description box below this video for you to check out. And all I ask in return is that you smash that like button. Because videos that are like this, talking honestly about what is happening in this world, including things with these masks or with the election audits happening across the country, are routinely censored by big tech. In fact, I implore you to go over to YouTube and search for Arizona election audit, and you will not find any of our videos. We've been covering this topic now for weeks. In fact, I've had maybe 13 videos devoted either entirely or partly to the Arizona audit. However, when you search for the Arizona audit and you keep scrolling and scrolling, we're not in the first 200 videos. Our videos get more views, more likes, and more comments than a lot of the other videos. But as you can see, only the mainstream outlets such as ABC, CBS, CNN, and others, they get put into the search results, while our videos do not. However, when you smash that like button, still it forces the YouTube algorithm to share this video out to people's news feeds, so at least they have some ability to access it. So again, smash that like button. Thank you so much. And now let's move on over to Colorado. Just yesterday, the governor of Colorado, Mr. Jared Polis, he's a Democrat, he signed into law several gun control bills, including one which allows cities as well as municipalities within Colorado to set their own gun regulations. Now, this might sound like a win for people advocating for the Second Amendment, but it's not. Because the way that it worked previously was that Colorado state law prohibited the different local governments and municipalities from enacting their own regulations related to guns. However, with this new law, the new law that was just passed yesterday, the different municipalities can now set their own laws on firearms. However, and this is the big but, the regulations that they set cannot be more lenient than Colorado state law, meaning essentially that the local municipalities can only have tighter gun controls than the rest of the state. Here's what part of that bill says. The bill permits a local government to enact an ordinance, regulation, or other law governing or prohibiting the sale, purchase, transfer, or possession of a firearm, ammunition, or firearm component or accessory that is not less restrictive than state laws. Meaning, once again, that the local municipalities within Colorado only have the authority to make their local gun laws more restrictive, not less. Now, in signing this new bill into law, here's what part of what the governor said in his statement. Together, these measures will make our communities safer, keep firearms out of the hands of those who would do harm to themselves or others, and get those in crisis help as soon as possible. However, the National Rifle Association, which is the largest gun rights group in America, they criticized this new bill, saying that it would generate a confusing patchwork of laws that are difficult to know and obey, and an expansion of arbitrary boundaries where law-abiding citizens are left defenseless. However, it looks like over in Colorado, this new law is not the end. That's because over at the signing ceremony, Colorado's Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Steven Fenberg, he's a Democrat, he suggested that more gun control bills may be introduced in the near future. Here's part of what he said. I'm hopeful because step by step, bill by bill, we here in Colorado are creating safer communities. Now, while Colorado is taking steps to make gun ownership more difficult, Texas is going a completely different route altogether. That's because just 3 days ago, the governor of Texas signed into law 7 new bills which aim to protect the Second Amendment of Texas. And among those bills was House Bill number 1927, also known as constitutional carry legislation. And so the way that it used to work in Texas was that if someone wanted to carry a pistol in public, he or she needed a state-issued license, and they were required to undergo training, a proficiency exam, as well as get a background check. However, with this new constitutional carry law, starting in September, law-abiding Texans who are over the age of 21 will not have to obtain a license in order to carry a handgun in public, either openly or concealed. Governor Greg Abbott referred to constitutional carry as the biggest and best of them all. Now, while supporters of this bill argue that it will help to restore the Second Amendment by removing unconstitutional government barriers to carrying a handgun in public, critics say that it could actually lead to an increase in gun accidents and gun violence. I guess only time will tell which of these two scenarios will actually play out. Now, in terms of some of the other bills which Greg Abbott signed into law, there was House Bill number 2622, also known as the Sanctuary State Act, which prohibits state officials from enforcing federal regulations on firearms, firearm accessories, or ammunition that are not in line with Texas state law. There was also House Bill 1500, which classified firearm ammunition businesses as being essential, meaning that the government cannot force them to close during emergencies and disasters like, for instance, the pandemic. There was also Senate Bill 19, which prohibits the state of Texas from contracting with any company that discriminates against a firearm entity or a firearm trade or association. Then there was Senate Bill 20, which allows Texans to store their guns as well as their ammunition inside of their hotel rooms when they're traveling. Then there was House Bill 957, which decriminalizes possessing, manufacturing, transporting, or repairing a gun silencer. And lastly, there was Senate Bill 550, removing the requirement for having either a shoulder or belt holster, essentially allowing Texans to carry their guns in whatever kind of holster they choose. Now, in signing these bills, here's what Governor Greg Abbott had to say. Politicians from the federal level to the local level have threatened to take guns from law-abiding citizens, but we will not let that happen in Texas. Texas will always be the leader in defending the Second Amendment, which is why we built a barrier around gun rights this session. These 7 laws will protect the rights of law-abiding citizens and ensure that Texas remains a bastion of freedom. Now, all of this comes as the situation at the southern border is getting progressively worse. In fact, just yesterday, 14 people were killed in a string of shootings near the U.S.-Mexico border. Those shootings happened on the Mexican side of the U.S.-Mexico border, right across from the Texan city of McAllen. However, this type of violence has begun to creep across the border into America, with many ranchers saying that they are fearful of armed cartel members who pass through their properties on a regular basis. And so, in order to combat the situation at the border, Governor Greg Abbott, besides reinforcing the Second Amendment, he is building his own border wall. In fact, just 5 days ago, Governor Abbott announced his strategy for how to build a barrier, and he authorized $250 million as a down payment to get the process started. He said that the funds are being drawn from the state budget and will be used to hire a project manager as well as contractors for the border wall. At the press conference where he made this announcement, and also where he signed this authorization letter into effect, he also signed another letter right here, which was addressed to Joe Biden, and it demands that the Biden administration return any land which was previously taken by the federal government to build a border wall, but has yet to be used for that purpose. Here's what part of this letter says, quote, "Federal government used condemnation powers to take property from Texans for the purpose of building a border wall. Once you took office, however, your administration made clear the federal government will not move forward with building the border wall at this time." It then continues to say that if and when this land is returned, the letter states that Texas authorities will, quote, "visit with Texans whose land was taken by the federal government to determine if they will allow the state of Texas to build a wall on their land." Now, in terms of how long this wall will be, or when and where it will actually be installed, those plans have yet to be announced. However, it looks like Texas might be getting some help from Florida. That's because, for one, Governor Ron DeSantis has recently authorized Florida's law enforcement resources to be sent over to Texas to help secure the border. In fact, we here at the Epoch Times reached out to Ron DeSantis' office, and here's how they explained the situation to us in an email. "It's undeniable that the border crisis is out of control. Helping our fellow Americans in their moment of need is always the right thing to do. The governors of other states have sent resources to Florida in the past to help respond to natural disasters. With the federal government unable or unwilling to enforce our laws and secure our border, Florida is ready to step up to the plate and do our part." Likewise, Mr. Wayne Ivey, who is a county sheriff in Florida, he said it this way: "When the state of Florida has a storm that devastates an area, law enforcement resources across the country respond and come to our rescue. Texas and Arizona, you've got a storm, and we're coming to help you." Now, besides sending in law enforcement resources, Florida is sending in its highest-ranking Republican politician. That's because President Trump, who is of course now a resident of Florida, he has agreed to go and visit the U.S.-Mexico border alongside Greg Abbott later this month, on June 30th. In accepting the invitation to visit the border, here's what President Trump said: "The Biden administration inherited from me the strongest, safest, and most secure border in U.S. history, and in mere weeks they turned it into the single worst border crisis in U.S. history. It's an unmitigated disaster zone. We went from detain and remove to catch and release. We went from having border security that was the envy of the world to a lawless border that is now pitied around the world." He then went on to further criticize the Biden administration for relinquishing control of the border to the cartels and the coyotes, and then he added this: "What Biden and Harris have done, and are continuing to do on our border, is a grave and willful dereliction of duty. My visit will hopefully shine a spotlight on these crimes against our nation and show the incredible people of ICE and Border Patrol that they have our unshakable support." Now, we here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the White House for comment on these developments, but we have yet to hear back. Regardless, if you would like to read more about these new gun laws out in Texas, about this new border wall, or about President Trump's upcoming trip, all those links will be put in the description box below this video for you to check out. And now let's move on over to... Hello? Hey, Roman, it's me. Nah, I'm just kidding. I wanted to take a quick moment and introduce our sponsor for today's episode, which is an awesome company called AMAC, or AMAC, and it stands for the Association of Mature American Citizens. Now, I do consider myself a mature American citizen, but I'm about 19 years too young to join AMAC. However, if you or someone in your family is 50 years old or over, I would consider joining because they are essentially the conservative alternative to the AARP, and they offer three main benefits to their members. The first is the money-saving benefit because they partner with a ton of retailers across the country and offer you discounts on things like vitamins, insurance policies, and so on. The list is pretty long. I'll throw a link to it in the description box below. The second is that members get a subscription to their magazine. And even though I'm not a member, I have read their magazine, and it's filled with thought-provoking articles. Very good. I'd highly recommend it. And then the third benefit, which a lot of people say is their favorite, is that AMAC fights on Capitol Hill against what they're calling the socialist storm that's brewing in America. So again, I would highly recommend you check them out. It's not too expensive. It's only $16 per year, but it looks like the benefits outweigh the cost by a wide margin. Again, you can go over to amac.us/factsmatter or just click in the link in the description box below. And AMAC, thank you so much for sponsoring our episode. Now, Roman in the studio, back to you. And now let's move on over to Missouri. Now, time seems to be flying pretty fast recently because I don't know about you, but I almost can't believe that this picture here of the McCloskeys defending their home in St. Louis was taken a full year ago. And after going through a lot of legal back and forth, 4 days ago, the McCloskeys pleaded guilty to several misdemeanor charges and they agreed to surrender their guns. Now, in terms of what those misdemeanors are, Mark McClosky, who is a lawyer by trade, by the way, he pleaded guilty to a Class C misdemeanor of fourth-degree assault, while his wife, Miss Patricia McClosky, she pleaded guilty to a Class A misdemeanor of second-degree harassment. They will pay the maximum fines of $2,000 and $750 respectively, and they will not be serving any jail time. More notably, though, is that the two of them will be forced to relinquish their guns, the guns that they were holding when they were confronting the BLM activists, including Mr. McClosky's AR-15. Now, in explaining why exactly they pled guilty, Mark McClosky went on over to Newsmax and he said this: "Prosecutors dropped all the felony charges, all the gun charges, and charged me with a crime that said I purposely placed other people in apprehension of imminent fear of physical injury. And by God, I did it. That's what the Second Amendment was there for, and I couldn't say no to that one. We saved the city of St. Louis the expense of pursuing this nonsense, and then we'll move forward." Now, even though the couple must surrender those two guns as a part of their plea agreement, they are still able to own firearms just like anyone else. And so Mr. McClosky said that he is planning to go out and buy another AR-15 as soon as the court clears him. It's also worth noting that Kim Gardner, who is the circuit attorney in St. Louis who initially brought these charges against the McCloskeys, she was later removed from her role in the case after a judge ruled that she appeared to have started the prosecution for political purposes. And lastly, the last thing I wanted to mention in this case is that this guilty plea will not hinder Mr. McClosky's ability to run for office, specifically for the U.S. Senate, which is the office that he is currently running for. Here's what he said as a part of his campaign announcement. "An angry mob marched to destroy my home and kill my family. I took a stand to defend them. I am a proven fighter against the mob. When the mob comes to destroy our home, our state, our nation, I'll defend it." He is currently running for one of Missouri's 2 Senate seats. Now, if you'd like to read more about this case, those links will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And now lastly, the last thing I want to mention on this program today is that on the very same day that Joe Biden was sworn into office, coincidentally, YouTube made the unilateral decision to demonetize our program, and now we can no longer run any ads before, during, or after our episodes, and the Super Chat feature has just been disabled. We've been waiting for months now to get an exact answer for why that is, why they demonetized us, but to this day, we just have a notice on the back end of our system saying it's being reviewed. However, we here at the Epoch Times, we took action and we created something very cool. It's called Epoch TV. It's our brand new no-censorship video platform where you can find all of the awesome Epoch Times video programs like The Larry Elder Show, Crossroads with Joshua Phillip, American Thought Leaders, Life and Times, China in Focus, and our show Facts Matter. And on there you will find exclusive episodes that you will not be finding here on YouTube. In fact, over the weekend we published an exclusive episode on there. Here's a trailer for it. Over in Fulton County, Georgia, a new election anomaly has been discovered. 5 days ago, an election official there made a stunning admission. While investigators were looking for chain of custody documentation for absentee ballots that came in through drop boxes, this election official informed them that nearly 25% of these documents were missing, meaning that nearly 19,000 ballots that came in through drop boxes have no chain of custody records. What happened? And now the Georgia Secretary of State has launched an investigation into not only Fulton County, but 3 other counties as well. But is that enough? And as states across this country are implementing stronger voting rules, we take a look at how America compares to Europe in terms of their requirements for photo IDs. Let's explore these topics together in an exclusive episode of Facts Matter, found only on Epoch TV. If you want to check out that episode, as well as to be entered for a drawing to win an autographed copy of this infographic, the link will be right there in the description box below this video. I hope you click on it. I hope you subscribe to Epoch TV, and I hope that you join us on this journey of exploring this beautiful world through honest journalism that is based in truth and tradition. Now, lastly, if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already in order to get this type of honest news content delivered directly into your YouTube feed while you still can. If you have an Instagram account, follow me at Epoch Times Roman so you can stay up to date on all the research I'm doing as well as some behind the scenes footage. And also subscribe to our newsletter just in case anything ever happens here on YouTube. Well, at least we can email to you our new videos that way. I'll throw a link to the newsletter down in the description box as well. And now, until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed and stay free.